Gen Zs engaging intrinsic motivation, but they are expecting immediate results.
They're called the first digitally native generation, so they've been exposed to so much information in this area.
Data and facts showing us that we are really finding ourselves into an emotional recession.
The leaders who have actually thrived, but they've seen beyond that. They've seen the actual person, they've seen the effort.
So, welcome to One Spark Away. It is a space for conversations about emotional intelligence, leadership, and changes that are quietly accompanying us across our lives and our organizations. So today I have with me in the room our amazing Simona Luca. She is a mom of 3. She is an amazing psychologist and an HR business partner for a tech company, American tech company, actually.
Exactly.
So with plenty of experience around people,
Yes,
emotions,
right.
and also organizational change, right?
Quite a while, yes. I've been in this company for 18 years now, in this HR-focused position for almost 3 years, and accommodating with my new role of a clinical psychologist and a psychotherapist, systemical, family and couples psychotherapist in training.
Nice to have you here, Simona.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for accepting the challenge. I know it is one for you too.
It is quite a challenge because it's my first time doing this, but I'm open to learn what I can do too, in what way I can help.
Our purpose with this podcast is to have impact around the world, to spark something in people, to really accommodate and acknowledge that emotional intelligence is important for leadership, for a day-to-day life, in relationships, in families, in our relationships with the organizations that we are working in. So it's something that is just accompanying us throughout our lives and can, in the end, also define the quality of life that we are having. An opening ritual for our podcast. And since it's about emotions, we do have the emotion cards.
Nice.
And I will guide you through a couple of questions and I will hand you over these emotion cards. So, Simona, which emotion best describes how you are coming here today?
Okay, I don't see a label, so I guess I'll just base my decision on the faces.
Exactly. Identifying a little bit like which one resonates most.
I guess this would be, because it looks both curious and playful at the same time. So I guess this is me today. Curious to see what this will turn into, and also feeling a bit playful being here with you. So yes.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
What does the emotion reflect about your life and work right now?
I guess it does say a lot about my personality. I'm a very curious person. I don't like to be in a place for too long. I like to discover new things. I'm open to experiences and always willing to find new things about myself and the others around me.
Beautiful. And thinking about the end of today's session, how would you like to check out? How do you like to feel when we are closing this conversation today? So I invite you to also choose another card that would reflect how you want to feel at the end of the conversation.
I guess this would be a good one.
Ooh, what does it represent for you?
It's like, yes, I did it. And I think we had a great conversation as well. And hopefully I brought some of my knowledge and made an impact in some way. So hopefully this will be representative.
Beautiful. Thank you for playing along.
Thank you for bringing this.
Okay, so today I was thinking to talk about emotional intelligence and how it impacts leadership, how it is present in organizations, and also a little bit around, there are everybody's talking about, burnout and Gen Z at work. So there are plenty of discussions around the world when it comes to how the work world is changing in the end in a very, very fast pace. Yeah. Sometimes it feels like we are forced to upgrade, and we can't really keep up with that fast pace. So I would like to focus today's conversation also a little bit around State of the Heart, which is a report that 6 Seconds is doing. 6 Seconds is the global network for emotional intelligence. I am actually doing some of my trainings with this organization because I really do believe that emotional intelligence is very important, and it's becoming actually even more and more important in the fast-paced world that we are living in, with AI around us, with the global situation that is really happening right now.
The context, yes.
Yes, exactly, the context. And 6 Seconds did an analysis. They have this SAY assessment, and they are using it like 169 countries. We have it in more than 22 languages. So plenty of people are taking this assessment. This is like a report based on their assessment. It's like this podcast is of course not sponsored by 6 Seconds or anything like that. It's just, for me, it's important to state that there are reports out there.
They're very valuable in this area.
Exactly, with lots of data, because in the end, I think it's one of the most comprehensive reports that we are having on emotional intelligence. And it's data and facts showing us that we are really finding ourselves into an emotional recession. And yeah, the question is also what we can do as individuals to maybe shift the direction from downwards to maybe a little bit more upwards.
My understanding as well is that there's been some shift in emotional intelligence, whereas until quite recently we were doing better than previous generations. There was a progress, right? An increase in emotional intelligence. There's been a stagnation during the pandemic and then starting to decrease. However, I think we're on a good path now. There's more awareness around this phenomenon, and there's even locally quite a lot of initiatives in bringing forward a lot of trainings, starting with younger generations, even with students in primary school and then secondary school, being educated on what emotions are and their role and why labeling them and understanding their function, that there's no bad emotions, there's only, functional emotions. They all have a role in our lives, and the better we understand them, better we do in everyday life, in any human connections, with our friends, with our colleagues, with our family, with our loved ones, right? So, yes, I'm seeing a lot of initiatives in this area. Even the Romanian curricula, it's trying to incorporate classes in this area. So I'm thinking we're doing better, but there will be a while until we are where we should be, for sure. What I would like to add is that it's very important that parents do their part at home and model the behavior. It's always very helpful that we as parents do the best we can at home to explain our children what we're feeling, why we're feeling in that way, and making them understand that it's natural. Anything they're feeling, it's normal, and the better they understand, the better they'll do.
Yeah, emotions are data in the end, right? And
exactly.
If we listen to what they are trying to tell us, they might really actually fuel us to get to the point in which we are supposed to, and not really opposing resistance against them, right?
Yeah, and we need to listen to our bodies, because there are a lot of body signs, a lot of the body's telling us what we're feeling. And again, we as parents need to be aware of those first, so we can teach our children to do the same, right? As simple as that. When you come home and your child is seeing you upset, maybe you can go ahead and say, yes, I've had a very bad day. I'm not in my best, shape, but I'm sure I'll feel better tomorrow. You can say, I'm upset because this or that has happened to me, but I'll get through this and I'll be better tomorrow. And so they know there's always, anything we're feeling right now is temporary.
Oh, actually, also if you have like a bad day, it's like being vulnerable in front of your kids.
Exactly.
And still exercising optimism. In the end, that it's, as you said, it's temporary. It's not something that is going
It's
to
final,
be
yeah.
exactly
Nothing's final
forever.
in terms of emotions, yes.
Yeah.
We can overcome it. It's good. And it's always tell them, now that I've told you, I feel a bit better, that I had the opportunity to talk about what I'm feeling, right? I feel a bit better. Thank you for listening to me. Was there anything similar that has happened to you today? Or is there anything that you think you would like to discuss with me? Anything that you think I could help make it better in any way? So yeah, invite them to be part of this type of discourse and yes, shape it. I mean, model it. This is the way kids understand it best, by seeing us doing it.
Beautiful. If you would describe emotional intelligence in your words, what would you say emotional intelligence is?
I guess first of all is being very much present. Being there to understand what's happening to you. I mean, there will be times where your mind will shift and there's always those cases, it always happens, right? But if you can, at most times, to be aware of what's happening and why you're feeling what you're feeling, and also do your best to understand why peers are feeling in a certain way or why they're behaving in a certain way, seeing beyond the actual behavior. I guess that's what emotional intelligence is. I'm sure there's a biological aspect to it, but there's also the good part of emotional intelligence is that it's very much learnable and it's teachable, and we as parents or as teachers, we need to do our best to model it to our children. So the earlier we start, the better the results.
Now thinking about emotional intelligence and organizations, because of course it starts with kids. But I think now we are starting to talk more and more about emotional intelligence. And for me, for example, when I was a kid, emotions were not really something that I was taught in school or by my family, and it was not like that they didn't want to. I think it was just we were not there yet. So we were more repressing our emotions rather than speaking openly about them.
Yeah, because no one did that for you, right?
Yes.
No one modeled it for you. So.
Exactly. And then thinking about that, people like me that have not encountered emotions until later, at a later stage in life, and what's the importance of emotions and how to really understand them and not just like autopilot on the highway, are in the workforce, right? And they are part of a team, part of an organization, maybe also in leadership positions.
Yep.
What do you think would emotional intelligent leadership look like?
Well, that's a very good question. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are still debating on this topic. In my view, based on what I've seen so far in an organizational environment, the leaders who have actually thrived in this environment have always been very open-minded, very open to seeing the people in front of them, not just the actual workforce, not just the actual work resource, right, allocated to their team. But they've seen beyond that. They've seen the actual person. They've seen the effort. They've seen the eagerness to learn, the eagerness to understand. And they've been there for their people day by day and have watched them grow and have acknowledged what they've seen. Not only, stating the obvious, but also being there to encourage them all the way. Also modeling it, the behavior that they wanted to see in the people. Be there and start bottom up.
Somehow enabling
Yes.
their employees or their organization in the end to step into their role and into their power.
So not just the actual professional expertise, but also the human touch I've seen. So it's not just that they're very good experts in their area. They know how to. They're also very good teachers. They know how to model it to their peers and show it and being there for them step by step. And of course, avoiding micromanagement as much as possible. I've seen that
It is
fail so many
hard.
times.
Yeah.
I've seen that fail so badly. Yeah.
I think it's a journey also for leaders, to be honest. I'm also working with leaders and they went with their teams, and it's like, being a little bit, sometimes I find myself like being in between, like there's the team, there's the leader. I'm like, just let them, just trust them. They know how to do their jobs. They're experts in what they are doing.
Exactly.
Just make sure that the environment, that the foundation is there, and that you remove the roadblocks on the way. But trust people to be able to do their
Give
jobs.
them the space to grow. Give them the autonomy. Show them you trust them. That's how they'll grow. That's how they'll, flourish. If they know they're trusted and they're seen for what they are and for what they can bring to the table, show them that, and then they'll succeed. They'll be amazing. I've seen people who weren't, and I've been in that situation as well. I've had this great manager at one point in my career that had liked working with me and pulled me into a field that I was never, ever into. I was not interested in, but I loved so much working with him. He was such a great teacher and a great mentor that I really enjoyed working in that area that was, again, never my area of interest. But it was amazing. So yes, you can help people find motivation even in areas that they never thought they would.
Yeah.
You know how to bring them there.
Totally. From your experience in like tech and HR, how do you see leadership in Europe? How do you think it's evolving from an emotional intelligence perspective?
I think we're getting there. I think that there's always people and people. There's different personalities and there's different paths that they've had to get there. What I like most is that there's a lot of openness to learn and to just grow in the areas that they never thought they needed to grow, but that they're becoming aware that they need to work there. Yes, I'm an optimist, so I'm seeing a lot of progress. And
if you would be to compare like Romania with Europe, since we are in Timișoara in Romania today, what do you believe it's the difference, or how do you feel the difference? Is there any?
Leaders in this area tend to be a bit more focused on actual tasks. And I'm feeling like there may be a need to give people more space, like we were discussing before. But again, I think we're doing better than we did maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So there's been progress here as well.
Okay.
Yeah. We're learning.
Full learning. Full learning.
Yeah.
I will just look quickly at the state of the heart. So we have a couple of key findings that are in the executive summary. So state of the heart will be also linked below. So global emotional intelligence scores have declined from 2019 to 2023. So it was a decline for 4 consecutive years. And the global average emotional intelligence scores declined by 5.54% on every individual competency that it is listed in this assessment. Then we have the second interesting point from the assessment is that the world has entered an emotional recession. And here this one is also characterized by low well-being and high burnout. And the well-being scores have actually declined in the past 4 years. So again, referring from 2019 to 2023, since this report came out in 2024. And then the third point is that Gen Z faces a mental and emotional health crisis fueled by loneliness and social isolation. And in the workplace, 53.7% of Gen Zs scored in the low satisfaction category.
Wow.
Signaling especially high risk for disengagement and burnout for young workers. What do you believe it's the root cause of declining of emotional intelligence?
And this specific generation?
This number, yeah.
Well,
and also I think in general, because in the end, thinking also about organizations, like on a global level, we are decreasing and we are facing an emotional recession. I don't know, do you feel it in your workspace in any kind?
Yes, for sure. I mean, there's no denying there's been an impact, and there's no going around the huge phenomenon that the pandemic has been, right? We cannot go around it and say we don't know what the cause is. Where in the beginning, we were also excited about the opportunity to work from home undeterminately. I mean, it soon became a nightmare for most of us, right? Where we couldn't interact other than via Zoom calls or Teams calls or phones, and what we thought it would be a dream come true soon turned into our worst nightmare. I think most of us never even understood how extrovert we were before being forced to be at home for so long with just family members, right? So yeah, there's no going around that big impact that the pandemic has had on this generation. I mean, most of them in the work field today were students at the time. They were forced to isolate from their groups at a very, very delicate time in their becoming. Not just students, but also we had high school students who, let's be honest, I mean, anything there's nothing that they need more at that time than be with their friends and their groups, their colleagues, and share experiences together. And I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear there's been quite an increase in emotional challenges as well, depression, anxiety, also suicidal. Yeah, we cannot go around that. What I'm trying to say is it's very important to be mindful of that when we characterize the generation. So there's also the climate crisis they've been brought up into. There's a lot of, even speaking to a colleague that's based in France, she has two Gen Z sons. I believe they're in the work field already, but what she was telling me is that they don't even want to travel anymore because they're so thoughtful about the environment that they don't want to travel by plane. Wow. They would rather, avoid the experience altogether, whereas they're very curious to. I mean, in your 20s, you wouldn't imagine people would not want to travel, right? They have the resources to do so, but they choose not to just because they want to be mindful of the environment. So there's quite a difference from the previous generations. They're called the first digitally native generation. So they've been exposed to so much information in this area. And as I said before, even during the pandemic, their need for interaction, for human interaction, has happened a lot in the social media. So you really cannot speak about Gen Z without mentioning those facts. Gen Z in the workplace have been quite a challenge because they know exactly what they want. They seem to know exactly what they want. But what they lack in is they don't necessarily want to, they're not very confrontational. So they will tell you once and you need to be careful because they won't tell you again. You will find soon that they will just quit if you don't listen in the first place. So that's a challenge we've seen.
So it's basically not asking for the second time, for the third time, or bringing it up. They want to be heard, right? From the beginning on. Yeah.
And they don't have a problem speaking up. They don't want to, they want to be listened in the first place. And what I've seen as well is they're very aware of what they're expected to do. I mean, they're very technical, of course. There will be situations where you'll see they're quite the experts. They know more probably on branding or marketing than our experts do, our millennials, right? They bring that forward and they're not afraid to tell you they're experts in that field. However, again, we need to, I think we need to learn how to not just lead them, but also mentor them and not losing opportunities just because they feel like they haven't been seen from the beginning. So yes, that's where we can come and help.
Maybe this brings us back to how you were defining emotional intelligence, right? Like being present and really listening to what people need around you. And then maybe you can keep these employees growing in the organization without losing them along the way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we need to focus on what they can, on their area of expertise, which most of them are really good at what they're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're here. What we need to do is be more aware and letting them know that they're being seen, they're being heard, and do the best we can to keep them there, to keep them engaged.
Mm-hmm.
We also want to, they're very thirsty for growing, which I don't think I've seen this in our previous generations. People tended to be satisfied with the role for longer periods of time, whereas now with Gen Z people, I see like they're very thirsty to grow, they're very thirsty to know more, to learn more, and also not necessarily very patient.
Definitely.
Yes, they wanna, I mean, it's also times, right? They don't necessarily been taught how to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I guess being the digitally native generation.
Totally, you have everything gone fast
Yes.
forward, right?
So it needs to be now. Like, it needs to happen now.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then I'll find a new workplace.
So I was looking at this part of the report from State of the Heart, and here it's also said that Gen Z are high achievers, driven by competitive spirit and an eagerness to prove themselves.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
So here it's like 33.7% of Gen Z scored low on satisfaction, as seen on the graph below. So this is basically the graph that we are having. Yeah. Yeah. And it was like matching perfectly with what you were saying, because it's like proven data that they really want to engage and want to see progress in the end, right? We do put our, I would say now, hearts on the table for work, and we do want to be heard, seen, listened to more and more, especially in a digital area where we are so disconnected from each other. Yeah. I think the workplace, especially if you're working physically together, it's like a place where you can have this feeling like, oh wow, somebody's really listening and hearing me out.
Yes, and it's way more difficult to have them experience that via online interaction.
Yeah.
So yes, I feel like, whereas we need to be very mindful of people's new approach on working remote, we also need to do a better job at educating them on the importance of also, at least occasionally, interacting with their colleagues, with their peers, because it feels like there's an increase in creativity and also, even motivation of being there, of being part of the team that follows this human interaction in real life rather than online. We've seen that over the years.
It's basically having a community or feeling like you're belonging to a community.
Yeah, but also being mindful of their new, they're very focused on keeping a good balance between life and work. I think they're doing a way better job than we did in the past. They're very self-aware. They're very keen to having also a personal life, not just a professional one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we really need to do a better job in being mindful of that.
Thinking again about Gen Zs at work, what do you think is one thing that other generations are misunderstanding about Gen Zs? Or where are they misunderstood in general?
I think they tend to be seen as lazy, because that's one misconception that I've seen, that I've been able to identify. Their eagerness to have things move really fast is being misinterpreted as laziness. We need to look at it from the angle that I've mentioned before. We need to understand that they've been born into this really fast-paced context that, and I feel like we need to do a better job at adapting to that rather than having them slow down. Because I feel like that's where progress is. They're seeing what needs to be done and they want to do it now. Why not, cherish that and support them?
And the world is not slowing down itself
It
either.
isn't.
So we have
not at all.
adapt to keeping up this pace in the end. Also, other generations need to somehow find a way to adapt on it. Yeah.
What I've also seen is that, again, compared to other generations, I'm a millennial myself, but I've also seen Gen X people who tend to stick to a job for a very long time. And that's because that's what we were taught. Our parents were very lucky to have a long-term job, right? And we were taught that that's a really good thing to do. Well, not for them, not anymore. They won't take any misalignment to their, they will want things to happen in their own pace. And if that doesn't happen again, they will not ask again. They will find a new job. And again, that's probably being a bit misinterpreted as them being lazy, not being able to wait for things to happen. So I remember I had at some point I had a colleague. She was in her 20s, fresh out of college, a very smart individual, very hardworking. And she was with us for probably 3 or 4 months. And then she resigned and she jumped not to a new role in a different company, but she started as an entrepreneur. And when I asked her, she was like, I learned everything I wanted to learn from this job. I'm ready to do this by myself. Wow. I'm like, it's your first job ever. And it's only been 4 months. I couldn't really grasp it at the time, but she did amazing afterwards. So she was one of our best resources at the time. So while I couldn't understand at the time, it did make sense. She wanted to do things independently. She wanted to do them at her own pace. She didn't want to depend on anyone else's direction. She just wanted to take lead. So she did. And again, she did amazing.
Yeah, and so young and so fast.
Yep.
Because she just... like eyes on the prize. I see it.
Exactly.
I take it.
I'll take it.
I learn it.
I want it. I'll take it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm gone. So yeah. But I feel I understand it. Like I'm in between a little bit. So I'm like in between Gen Z and millennials. And sometimes I feel myself I'm a millennial, and some other times a Gen Zer. And I'm like, I also feel a lot that, or sometimes that organizations are like, not keeping up with the fast pace that I am wanting for myself.
Willing to give
exactly.
to it. Yeah.
And then for me, it's a little bit frustrating because then I'm like, okay, remember you are like working with a big organization. It's not going to work like a startup like you are thinking, So it's, but it's something that we just need to adapt. And I think also organizations, from what I was seeing also in Austria, are more and more talking about it in the first place and talking about like bringing awareness into these generational differences that are in the organization. Because in the end, we need to coexist with each other and we need to understand each other so that we can deliver the most impact into the world for our customers, for our organizations, and in the end also for ourselves, because we are spending so much time at work. Why not make it a beautiful place together? Yeah.
And that's where a great leader comes in. They need to be able to identify the value in each representative of each generation. This individual can bring value in a slower paced department, and this individual can go to our creative team where the pace is a bit more, dynamic. So yes.
Yeah. Like some really putting the right people at the right place at the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was looking at this chart that we are having from 6 Seconds. Gen Zs are focused on short-term action. So it's basically, you can see here, we have like the Gen Zs that are engaging intrinsic motivation, but they are expecting immediate results.
Yes.
And then you see like, on the other hand, the boomers that are with long-term vision and like leading towards a future vision. So they were really pursuing their goals, but on the long run. Gen Zers are focusing on like the super
It needs to happen now.
Yeah.
And I can do it. I can make it happen now. Just give me a chance. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
That's the discourse that we're seeing.
How do you believe that leaders can support Gen Zs to thrive and have this ambition without this prove your worth culture? Because I feel like there is this, like I am at work, I need to prove myself, and then somehow
like pull your own weight, you mean? or
like proving yourself that you can do it, and then you overdo it, and then you land into burnout. Like
there's a very thin limit between them. But yes, I guess we need to show them that we're seeing their value and we're open to grow as well. We don't necessarily want to make them adapt to our pace, but we should rather try to find a rhythm together, as you said, to make it work for both parties, right? Show them that we're seeing them and that we understand their needs. The feedback part needs to be a bit more visible, and it needs to happen faster than before.
Wow, feedback. That's very important.
Yes,
totally. And
feedback
it's
all
often
the way.
forgotten somehow. Or like it's this 360 once a year, and then it's gone. Nobody says anything anymore, and then.
But it's not just about that.
Yeah.
You'll see, and I've seen it over time, where feedback coming from a mentor means more than an increase or an increase in PTO, or showing them that you see them, you see their value, you see the value that they're bringing to the company.
It hits home because like feedback is so important. I feel like, and also for team dynamics and team performance, I think feedback it's one of the pillars that we can really build high performing teams on. And it's so much overseen, it hurts.
Yeah.
Like it really hurts.
It is, because there's no way, it feels like there's no time for that, but it doesn't necessarily need to be something formal. It can happen instantly, ad hoc, right? If you're there, if you're very involved in your team, you will see it when it happens. And don't take your time with that. Just go ahead and say it then. There's this thing that we do at our company where we have these kudos channel.
I love kudos.
We have a kudos channel in Slack. So whenever someone needs to express their gratitude, their thanks to someone doing something that wasn't even their responsibility or something, or just they did their jobs so in such a great way that we don't waste time. We just go ahead and mention them there. And I feel like that brings a lot of visibility to team members, and they know they're being seen and they're being applauded for what they do.
It's like really taking a moment to cherish the work of somebody else and to offer your gratitude in the end for you being there, being delivering, being present, being a good colleague, being...
I see you, pretty much. That sums it up. I see you, I see what you're doing, and I'm grateful for you.
Wow, beautiful. That's really cool. Nice practice there.
It is.
Now, thinking about Gen Zs, if they could develop one emotional intelligence skill that would support them in their growth in organizations or at work, what do you believe would be one that would be extremely important?
I guess being able to adapt to a different perspective and putting a bit more effort in understanding where the others come from as well. And I'm not saying they're very self-focused, but it's also they know their worth very well. Rightly so, they know they should be seen. But what I'm saying is they should possibly give people a chance at showing that they're being seen. Yeah.
To also see others somehow,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So
to also see others, to make it mutual. Exactly.
To give what you want
what
to
you
get
expect
in the first
from the
place.
others. Yes.
Yeah.
Bi-directional, I guess, interaction. Yes.
It's like a two-way street in the end. And it's not only a highway for you, but it should be like a collaboration.
Yeah, I feel like they also could work more into meeting them, at least midway, right? Halfway.
Meet me halfway, yeah.
Yeah. I see you're doing your best. Let me help you. Let me come and meet you there. You know, I think that's one way we could have them work better.
Switching a little bit in the direction of burnout. So Gen Zs are high performers and they really want everything super fast and if possible now. So I think we agree on that. But this also leads to unsustainable performance, right? So you will have, I think, in this approach, on the long run, you will end up with probably a burnout. What do you think about that? What do you think would be something, or maybe a different approach, or something to consider for this generation?
Well, I feel like, again, that they've grown up into this very technological environment, and they've always had information at their fingertips. So most of them, by the time they graduate, they know exactly what they're going to do, and they know exactly where they'll thrive. And that means they're also very passionate about it as well. And as you, I'm sure, are aware already, when you're very passionate, you tend to not necessarily give you space to rest, because you're, as they say it, right? Give me a job. I mean, give me let me do what I like, and I won't work a day in my life. Yeah. But again, even if it doesn't feel like work, it's still work, and we need to do a good job at keeping a good balance between professional and personal life. And whereas I feel like they're acknowledging that. They sometimes, I've seen that happen, where don't really take breaks. We need to remind them, vacation bucket is there waiting for you. So go ahead and book some time for you to disconnect.
Yeah.
So yes, that tends to happen. I guess following the lead of colleagues would be helpful, and understanding that taking breaks is not an issue. On the contrary, it helps them. Disconnecting can, and also getting some rest, can boost your creativity, can bring you new levels of understanding where you're going. We try to do a good job at educating them in that direction, but of course it is their decision in the end. So you need to respect that. It is a learning, process.
Totally.
Yeah.
While you were speaking, I was thinking a little bit about my experience with taking time. I tend to overdo it. One of the leaders, at some point, he asked me a question. He was not like saying, hey, you need to take time off, but he was there and he was looking at me and he's like, do you believe that you can rest in the way that you are taking holiday? And I was like, what's wrong with me taking holiday the way I'm taking holiday? He was like, yeah, I'm just asking because, like you're taking 2 days here and then 2 days there and then 3 days there, but you never take like a longer period off. I was like, I did not even think that that's a problem. Like for me, it was so normal that I didn't even consider it as a problem. But then I thought about it and I was like, oh, this guy's right. Like I really, let's try it differently, let's see what happens if I'm doing it differently. And then I started to take like 1 week and then 2 weeks. And now I'm going 3 months next year to Asia.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good step forward.
Increasing, to really see and feel how it is to be away from work.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a great step forward. Yes, I agree with that. It feels like for shorter periods of time, it's not enough for you to disconnect entirely. So I'm sure now that you've experienced a longer vacation, you know what I mean, because it takes probably even a week or more than that for you to actually disengage from the work environment and also feel like, befriend yourself and come back into your own body and listen to it and, go into really vacation moding, right?
Totally. I really feel that. So for me, it was a game changer that I did not expect to be a game changer. So it takes a couple of days indeed to come down and to really be present, aware.
And just try to be present and see the type of thoughts that come to mind when after you've had a extensive period of rest, right? You will see there's a lot of creativity coming. There's a lot of new ideas, and there's a lot of European countries that require companies to grant employees at least 2 consecutive weeks of vacation a year. Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Even in Romania, that's a requirement.
Yeah.
So I think that's intentional.
It makes sense. So in the end, it's like, common sense, but breathing is also common sense, and we also forget to do it.
We tend to do it superficially. Yes,
exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, it's also the same, I think, with taking holidays.
Yep.
But now thinking a little bit about burnout. So in your work, how do you distinguish between like burnout that is caused by workload or like overload and burnout that is somehow generated by misalignment? So not really doing what you like or where you feel that it's something that's purposeful for you?
I've seen both, unfortunately. I feel like the misalignment one is a bit harder to identify. Because if they're having a hard time identifying it themselves, then they won't talk about it. They won't bring it to the table. They won't be aware of it. Yes, I feel like where people are assigned to not necessarily to the wrong roles, but they're giving tasks that they don't necessarily identify with, and they fail at discussing about it or bringing that to their manager. They tend to go into this dissatisfaction with their day-to-day, tasks that can lead into burnout. Because you need to have some sort of equilibrium between the expectations and also your interest, I suppose, in the professional area. And if there's none, or you've just been assigned to a role because there's need for you or for someone in that role, and it's not necessarily important if you're the right person or not, then you'll soon see the signs.
What do you think somebody in this situation could do?
They should do a better job at speaking about it. I mean, yeah, there will be scenarios where the manager doesn't have an alternative and then they would require them. But even if that's the case, I mean, once they're aware, they still need to do something about it at some point. I mean, they've been told they will need to take action at some point and find something that's more suitable and that's a bit more compatible with the set of skills that the employee is bringing.
So really acknowledging the other person and what are their talents and where you can use them at its the best.
In a way, it's a failure on the leader side, right?
Yeah.
They should be able to see that. If people are unhappy with the role, and that will show at some point.
Totally.
Because you can see passion in people who do what they like, and you can see, dissatisfaction or a lower level of engagement, if I may say so.
Thinking about leaders and their teams, because in the end, most of leaders are having teams, one or multiple teams that they are leading or exactly. What is something that leaders often do that without necessarily realizing it? So we are doing things that we not necessarily realize, of course, that really accelerate this burnout in their teams.
I guess we need to do a good job at keeping our focus both on the business goal, but also the personal goal of the people. So keeping a good balance there, because there's you quite easily slip into that dynamic where you're very focused at achieving the annual goals that you've set with the team and for the company as a leader. And yes, you need to also keep an eye on your people on a personal level and see if they're happy, see if that adjust the pace so you can give them a moment to breathe, or at least be transparent about the expectations and do a good job at meeting their need to understand what the future plan is and explaining, okay, we'll have to be very focused on this project for the next couple of months, but then we'll have a breather and then you can focus on what you wanted to really, because there will be areas where people would like to focus more than others. So you can explaining the expectations and, be transparent.
Yeah, about what each side needs in the end and how to come together and to achieve this together. Yeah.
And involve them in the discussions. In the end, I always encourage people to approach, I think that's the Japanese style where we discuss things bottom up. We go to the experts. When we have new leaders joining the company, we want them to go to the experts, to the long-standing team, the ones that were there from the beginning, or at least for a very long time and know the product better than anyone, I mean, listen to them, see what the rationale behind it is, and then build your leading plan.
Yeah.
I think that works
Including
best.
the people, exactly. Including the people, including the experts. You don't need to explain them how to do their job. They know already. You just need the direction, a little bit of guidance on
exactly
where to go. Mm-hmm.
And don't fall into the trap where you feel like you know better than them, and then just speaking from your high tower and just telling them what to do without knowing them, without knowing what they're good at. They won't follow your path. I think that's the easiest way to lose them.
What is a myth about burnout that you would love to disappear forever, like
the one where it's always the company's responsibility? Because it's not. I feel like we as well as employees need to take responsibility and do a better job at expressing our needs. I mean, we can learn from the Gen Zers from on that aspect, right? They're doing a great job there. They know their needs. They don't have a hard time putting them to the table. So yeah, we can learn a lot from them. I feel like there's been a lot of situations where people tend to fall into that trap of trying to always be present for the company, for the clients, but missing so much on the personal level. And then and rightly so, they tend to blame it on the employer, right? But it's again, it's a two-way street. You need to do your part. You don't. There's the company's interest, of course, it's to sell the product, to gain clients, to gain visibility. So they will always need you, but you also need to do a good job at disengaging, knowing your needs and speaking about exactly, pointing them out.
And maybe also asking for what you need in regards to burnout, mental health, emotional intelligence in the end, and trainings and things. I feel also around trainings, I feel like there is a lot of, I expect the manager, I expect the company to send me to trainings, but there is...
You need to ask.
It's not enough proactivity in where do I want to grow myself and where do I see myself developing as an individual, but also as an employee or as a leader or as a business owner in the end, because that's also something that business owners need to proactively consider for themselves. Yeah,
exactly. And I think another aspect that we missed there when you talked about burnout. I believe there's been a post-pandemic burnout that we haven't spoken enough about. And I've seen in long-standing team members who have been amazing at their job for so many years. But then post-pandemic, after being in that fully remote environment, they've just slowly disconnected. And if it's been a long process, it hasn't happened quickly. It was even very difficult for us to identify, but it's been like I think they call it silent quitting in a way. It has been so easily for them to fall into that.
When you're somehow mentally disconnected
from
society in general, I feel like you're just living in your own bubble without really...
You don't see value in your work anymore because there's not that human interaction that shows you, that the Slack channel I was telling you about does its part, but it only partly helps, right? You also need to be there for people to show their gratitude personally. You need to see that, you need to experience that we're very social beings. We cannot exclude that component from the interaction. And I feel like that happened on quite an extensive level. I can't say whether I don't think I've seen any literature on the area, but I'm sure there will be soon because I've seen it quite a lot. Slowly disengaging, like people who were very, very good and very engaged before slowly slipped into that. You had to remind them so many times for them to do a basic task, right? They were like, I'll do it, and then weeks later, it was still not done. And when you would confront them or ask them, what happened there? Is there anything that you need? They would be like, I don't even know. It wasn't even, they weren't even aware of the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very good bridge, I think, for a question that is around emotional patterns. Because as I was saying in the beginning, we are running on patterns, right? So our brain is basically choosing the easiest way that it knows. So we are on a highway.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you believe leaders can identify early on emotional patterns in themselves and also in their teams?
They need to do the work, of course. They need to do their introspective work, first of all. Because once you've seen yourself, you will be able to see others as well. And yes, avoiding to fall into these patterns of reactive behavior rather than being aware of where you are, of your triggers as well. I think there's a lot of introspection that needs to be done and a lot of awareness. Being there, being present, being listening to your own body again, because it's not just at the behavioral level that things appear. It's also in the body. You'll feel a certain way interacting with a certain personality, and you'll discover soon that you have the same reaction in your body as the same emotion that you feel in your belly, exactly, like butterflies in your belly when someone says something to you, and you'll be like, that person determined that, but it
what does it really mean in the end, right?
It's just us. It's, as you said, these are patterns, and we're not reacting to the person in front of us. We're reacting to things that have happened before, and the emotion that is being triggered is similar to what happened in the past in a similar situation.
Yeah. So it's like a stimuli that you are having, and it reminds you from, oh my God, back in the day, somebody like disappointed me, and then I'm having this discussion with somebody and I'm feeling the same disappointment. So I'm just like going back to that.
Yes, we're pretty simple beings in that way, and we're very similar to other species in that sense. Yes, yeah, we react to stimuli, as you said.
Do you have a moment that you could share with us when emotional intelligence made a difference in a conflict in your organization or in your teams?
Yeah, I've seen that quite a lot, and in both ways. I've seen emotional intelligence put down fires where there could have been explosions, and I've also seen a lack of intelligence, of EQ, of emotional intelligence, where just people seeing each other as they are could have helped the situation, over. Yes. Yeah. It's always better to take a moment, to take a step back, give it a while, not react, and always keep in mind that it's never about the person in front of you. It's about, as you said, the stimuli. It's about what this brings back in me. So it's not you made me mad. It's this whole situation made me mad. I feel mad because this has happened to me before, and my mind recognizes it, and that's what I'm reacting to. It's not you, the person, it's the situation. And with that in mind, it's always easier to see the person in front of you and not to, demonize them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
She made me do it. She made me, or he made me react that way. It's because of him or her.
No, it's just the situation that we need to extract. Yeah. We have when I'm doing Teams coaching, we have an Elmo. That's the plush thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a red thing. And, there is the elephant in the room. So Elmo can be the elephant in the room. So this is the problem. Now we're speaking about the problem, and we're not doing finger pointing here, because that's not the purpose, right? Of how to collaborate and to get to performance with finger pointing. We're never going to manage that, right?
Yeah,
so Elmo is our elephant, and let's talk about the elephant, and let's find solutions about the elephant, and not about how good or bad the other person is. So leaving judgment behind Exactly. Let's really focus on problem solving and on getting better as a team.
Yeah. And like I say to the parents that I'm seeing in my own practice is, you don't want to blame the child. You want to blame the behavior if you want to blame someone. Yeah. Just talk about the behavior, but also not make it like you need to, don't make like you need to finger point. It's better to use the approach where you talk about how you feel about it. Like, this made me sad or this made me angry, rather than say, you made me, it's all your fault. Or,
And then also using the finger.
Like, you, yeah, all your fault. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, it hurts. Yeah.
You'd rather, you need to try to avoid that.
And it's destructive instead of constructive.
Exactly. Because it doesn't help the other person see what they've done wrong. Yeah. They will just feel like they're wrong, right?
Coming slowly towards an end for today. What's one thought or feeling or a smart shift that you would like to leave the audience with?
Just be open to meet people where they are, rather than expect them to come to you. Do your own part
in listening.
And seeing them for who they are. Don't expect them to, if you can leave expectations behind, that's always helpful. Just be open-minded, be open to know them as they are. And there's always so much to learn from others. I think that's the only way we can grow. Rather than be very rigid, be flexible, and then growth will follow.
What do you think leaders need to become more emotionally aware of starting today?
I think we need to do a better job at knowing ourselves first, so we can see and understand the ones around us. And I feel like we can never be good managers or leaders without knowing our lights and our shadows at the same time. Not bringing that critical attitude is always helpful. Try to be open to different personalities. Try to embrace what they're bringing. Try to find value in their anything they bring new to the table, and see how that could enhance the team. I'm an optimistic by nature, so what I do is I give people the benefit of doubt, right? That's what I start with. If I expect people to fail, they will fail. If I expect people to thrive and I show them that from the beginning, they will thrive sooner or later. Yeah, just give them time.
Mm-hmm. Now, thinking about the emotion cards that you're having on the table, how are you leaving the conversation today?
I'll say I'm in between.
You're in between.
I feel like I've had my pauses where I had difficulty in putting into words what I was feeling, what I was trying to convey, but hopefully I did a good job and people will find value in this talk.
I felt a lot of emotion, so it feels like you really are super passionate about what you are doing, and it's so beautiful to have somebody optimistic and passionate in front of me. I love that.
Thank you so much for seeing that.
I really, really felt like I'm an empath, so I'm feeling a lot.
And I can see your emotion in your eyes, first of all.
Yes, and I'm really like, crying easily nowadays.
It's fine.
But it is really beautiful. I thank you a lot for the conversation, and I thank you for accepting this challenge. I know our native language is not English, so we both
felt like we want to say this in Romanian in such a better way.
Yeah, exactly. But the impact on a global scale we are having in English, of course. Hopefully. And I'm really grateful for having you today here, for you leaving us with a spark of motivation, inspiration, optimism, and openness towards thinking a little bit.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.